The headlines of the week, the future of the Supreme Court, the Detroit Auto Show reportedly moving, and so much more. Plus, a One Detroit look at a program that is working to cut down on gun violence in Detroit. Stay put. Nolan Finley and Stephen Henderson are here, too. And MiWeek is coming up.
I have a question. Who wants to go first? To win? Who wants to grow our business? Who wants to make more money? Who wants more job opportunities? If you want Michigan to compete and become a top 10 state, raise your hand. Together, we've turned Michigan around and started moving forward. Now help us build a stronger Michigan than ever. Raise your hand at strongermichigan.com.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, Craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Hi there and welcome to MiWeek. I'm Christy McDonald. In a week that had us looking overseas at a miraculous rescue in Thailand, the World Cup, and keeping an eye on the president's meetings in Europe, we have a lot to get to here at home as well, including a change to the Supreme Court, plus reports that the Detroit Auto Show is moving to the summertime. And also we'll take a look at the fight surrounding the way voting districts are drawn, and a One Detroit in-depth report on stopping the cycle of violence. And it starts in the ER of One Detroit Hospital. All right, say hello to our MiWeek contributors, Nolan Finley of the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson of WDET Radio. Did you guys call each other and say, wear the blue plaid jacket?
Yes, of course.
Was it a coordination effort?
And we wanted to, not
Well,
tell
his
you.
is
And not tell me about it. Let
This is
me
a
in on
lighter
it.
blue. That's one of my favorite Nolan jackets.
It's a good. Now,
No, I'm a little slighter than that.
that would be part of the Nolan and Stephen reality show that I'd like to be a part of, eh? All right, well, let's go ahead and get started on kind of the big news of the week, Donald Trump's Supreme Court pick. And you could pick what headline you chose to read. I have the neutral one of Trump chooses Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court instead of Democrats panic at Supreme Court pick and Republicans rejoice. So we'll start with the neutral one, and I'm going to give you first crack at it, Nolan.
Well, you could put any name in those two headlines, and the reaction would have been the same. I mean, Democrats were going to object to anyone, and Republicans were going to rejoice over anyone. I think in Kavanaugh, you've got a guy who for 12 years has been a conservative thought leader on the Washington District Court, second most important court in the land, a guy who has been respected by his colleagues from both sides of the political divide on that court. He's a good, solid judge. He has all the credentials you would look for in a justice. He's a solid legal mind. I don't know how you do much better in picking a justice. If you got to, once you accept the idea that a Republican is going to pick a conservative justice and a liberal is going to pick, or a Democrat is going to pick a liberal justice, his qualifications match anyone else who has been named to that
Do
court.
you subscribe to the thought that Nolan's saying is, look, you could put almost anybody in there that a Republican pick is going to be a Republican pick?
Well, no, I don't. I actually don't. I think Brett Kavanaugh is a more acceptable. If you are progressive and liberal, I think there are a number of reasons that Brett Kavanaugh is more acceptable than some of the other people who are on the list. In fact, this is a really institutional pick, right? D.C. Circuit is the training ground for the Supreme Court. There are more justices from that court on the High Court than other circuits because the work is very similar. This is a judge who hadn't deviated a whole lot from that institutional work or line when he's been there. It's not a place that you find nutty justices.
So what is the big fear that people have?
I mean, the fear is that this is somebody who might entertain the idea that settled precedents are not so settled. So beyond Roe v. Wade, which is the sort of hot button one, you have lots of civil rights law that is in the balance right now, hanging in the balance, voting rights law that the court has been chipping away at. What role will he play in those, and will it be different? Really, is the question from Justice Kennedy, who he's replacing, who was also a deeply conservative judge from sort of the institutional ranks. I think the issue for Democrats is how hard do you fight against this to remind people of how we got here? The only judge who's more qualified for this role than Brett Kavanaugh is Merrick Garland. And everybody in Washington knows that. And the tragedy of what was done to Merrick Garland is the thing that I think Democrats
Or Barbara
might
Bork
want
or Miguel Estrada. I mean, this has been going on for
Let
decades.
me ask you this. How does this pick play, Nolan, in the midterm elections? How does it affect it one way or another?
Well, I mean, I don't think this pick will be particularly influential in the elections. I mean, it's done, it's over by the time the elections get here. If the confirmation process goes as expected, you know, I think this is a guy who, during his 12 years, has shown respect for precedent on the court. He's a pretty institutional, as Steve said, legal mind here. He's not going to walk way off the dock. He's in the mold of Gorsuch, perhaps maybe a little closer to John Roberts, and I would not expect John Roberts to deviate much for president either. That's not who they are.
The thing that you got to watch out for if you're the Republicans is the wild card, right? The thing that you don't know about that's in somebody's background that comes out during the run-up to hearings or hearings themselves.
Yeah, but wouldn't you think that they would have vetted that? I mean, when you get the opportunity.
There's some things you don't know.
You do what you can. There's this story today in the Washington Post that the White House leaked, by the way, about this guy running up all kinds of debt.
He's got a baseball
buying
Jones.
baseball tickets, which I'm not sure I believe that's what he's actually doing, but
$75,000 in credit card. I mean, when you look at his resources, he's a person of very modest means, and as we were talking before the show, that is
he'd be rich anywhere else.
Well,
wait, $75,000 in baseball tickets?
That's what they claim, which strikes me as.
And the White House is saying,
how do you rack that up? You know?
Sort of
That's
sounds
a lot
to me
of
like
baseball.
they're getting out in front of something that maybe
and
might
and
look a
who
little
knows?
uglier.
But it does. You know, if you look at the other members of the court, there are a lot of people there who are not wealthy. This is not
I
don't think
it's a question
economically elite.
I don't think
It's also a question of judgment, though, if you're racking up that kind of debt on baseball,
and
on
susceptibility
baseball tickets.
to compromise, right?
Absolutely,
He's got a lot of debt,
but you know, fortunately, he's not going to be in charge of any fiscal.
But other than that, this is a guy who probably sails through the voting process, right? The confirmation hearing is going to be rough, and they should be.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead. And there's something else that I saw that Nolan brought to my attention, but I also saw this headline. It said, protesters to chamber drop lawsuit against anti-gerrymandering initiative. And this was pretty interesting. Supporters of the anti-gerrymandering initiative on the November ballot, they're taking direct aim at the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, which is financially backing a lawsuit to throw the issue off the ballot. The group has taken out newspaper ads, I don't know if you saw them this week, targeting the chamber's chairman of the board, Deloitte's Mark Davidoff, and calling out other board members by name. And I saw this. This was a very big ad, and an interesting tactic to go right at the people on the board.
And misleading and dishonest to boot. I mean, they don't identify them as the chamber board. They identify them as a dark money group. Well, they are no more a dark money group than the organization that bought the ad. Their funding is hard to track, too. But my problem wasn't the ad itself. That falls within free speech, I think. I thought it was a little despicable in its misleading aspect, but that's a tactic that's, I think, still within boundaries. It's the social media campaign where you have people urging that you confront these people in public. You've tracked down their children. Several said you use the guillotine on them. You apply the Second Amendment. Shoot, the actual threats of violence, I think, is what's despicable here. And that's what this out-of-town group, this East Coast group, Represent.us, is noted for. These really below-the-belt offensive tactics to try to intimidate folks they politically disagree with. We're not talking about civil rights here or the disenfranchised. This is a political process question. You can have disagreements on it without going violent.
Had the tactics gone too far?
People are making threats, but I think associating that with the people who took out the ad is a leap that I'm not necessarily willing to make.
It's their website, Steve.
Hold on. It's comments on their website that's different from the group itself. That's the group itself is not doing this. The other thing that's true is that what disappoints me about this is that this is a diversion from the discussion that needs to be taking place about gerrymandering, which is a civil rights issue. It is the means by which Republicans maintain minority control in this state. That's a huge
and
civil rights
Democrats
issue.
before them when they had the power to draw.
No question. But
you know,
Democrats are the majority in this state.
That's
So-
the core issue.
No, hold on,
but
hold
the
on a
tactics
second.
are what
But hold on a second.
the
Hold on a
real
second.
issue
But
is.
the core issue, you say it's not a civil rights issue. This is very much a civil rights issue. Black voters in the Detroit area are disenfranchised by the gerrymandering
How
that
so?
goes by being packed into 2 districts when they
As
could
mandated
be. No,
by
it's
the
not
mo-
mandated.
by the
We've
Voter
seen-
Rights Act.
That's, hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
We've seen maps drawn before that better represent contiguous boundaries, better represent minority voters than the maps that we have. It's not that you have to draw it this way. It's drawn this way for partisan advantage, and it also disenfranchises
two
those
congressmen out of
those
Detroit,
voters.
a city that's the size of 1 congressional district. You could argue they're overrepresented
have-
based on their population.
Actually, what
And
you-
if
what you could
have to
argue is
create
that-
2 minority-majority districts, it's going to mandate going all over the place, picking up pockets.
It does.
of
So,
black
but,
It actually
voters.
does.
but what's wrong with having a commission where you have 4
There's nothing
Republicans, 4
wrong.
Democrats,
Nothing
then you
wrong with
have
that.
independents
There-
on there?
what-
The most
drawing districts.
progressive-minded states in the union, Arizona on this issue, Arizona, California, are having tremendous success at mitigating the influence of politics on the process by doing it that
But that's
way.
not how
Nolan.
this commission's going to be drawn. It's not.
I have some problems with the way that a commission is drawn up.
I think there's a way to do fair redistricting. I don't think you need to lock this into the Constitution where you can't fix it if it goes bad, like term limits. And I do think the people
how do we get
behind
through
this,
Hang on.
the people behind this are, it's a Democratic front. I don't think it's
And in
it's
Maryland,
a fair,
it's a
independent
Republican
way to do.
front.
Yeah, but why not get it right here?
Well, I think the reason that we're doing it by referendum to change the Constitution is because of the failure of the legislature. This is one of the long list of issues that this legislature, because it benefits from, in this case, it benefits from the way things are, is unwilling to tackle. The legislature could fix this problem very easily. They chose not to. So the people said, we're going to do it ourselves.
Well, we're going to have a
430,000
pretty
people said
big
they want to do
new
it.
legislature coming in. You know what? One other thing that I saw this week, headline, Detroit Auto Show expected to move to June, reports say. And if the reports are right, it'll be a lot more comfortable to wear a dress to the charity preview at the Detroit Auto Show.
Say, I
Yeah,
don't
if
get
you're
my
not
way on
up
that.
in
Reports say the show
vacation.
is being moved to June in 2020. This past January,
I'm all
when we
for
did MiWeek from the auto show, we were speculating on what this show would look like even a year from now, with the change in technology, the focus on industry. And with more car companies pulling out of the winter show, the Detroit Auto Dealers Association that puts it on is coming up with a new idea, put in more prominent spot during the auto show circuit, be able to use the good weather for outdoor events. An official announcement is expected later this month. Nolan, the sound effect of is not, you can't use that as a take, so now you have to give me your opinion.
There is a ton of stuff to do in June, and you've got a lot of other things demanding your time. You've got vacations. Maybe you're up north. You got the chamber conference. You got all this, the Grand Prix.
The Grand Prix is the first weekend
You got
in June.
all of this going on. What is there in January that we're doing here?
Well, that's a good point.
We are doing nothing in January except
Freezing.
we get a little
Yeah,
break.
but why not?
at
But
the
why not
auto
when you
show.
have, 5,000 journalists that are coming from around the world,
Oh,
be able
screw
to
'em.
kind
Show
of maybe
off
put the
the-
first,
Listen,
a
there
good
has
face
been-
on the city.
There's been no downturn in attendance at that show because people say, oh, God, it's January, it's freezing, let's go to the auto show. In June, my lawn needs mowing. Oh, I'm going to
Yeah,
go to
but you know
the
what,
lake,
Nolan?
blah,
Maybe
blah,
you
blah.
won't have
I
those people
predict-
who will come down to the auto show in January if all of a sudden they can't see BMWs, they can't see Audis,
I
they can't
bet-
see Ferraris,
I
they
bet
can't see
that's-
Porsches, they can't see Lamborghinis.
I'm betting that's
Shall
not
I
true.
go? You can't see
And
Mazdas.
I don't think they're not coming because the show is in January. I think they don't think the show is relevant.
No.
It's not going to become more relevant.
I'm
in
not sure of
June.
that. I mean, I think that
What's gonna become more
But I think if you
relevant
take it,
about
I think if you take it out of the circuit
Yeah.
because you're getting it very close to the technology show
there
in
are
Vegas,
trade
we were talking
reasons
about the
to
trade
move it,
shows,
yeah.
and so you're kind of starting to get the same audience because you're looking at the autonomous
No, I think
technology
right.
that's coming with it.
I mean, I do think I think that's what's motivating this rather than the weather, which is
Though I
my
like
big
the weather.
complaint. My big complaint about January is, wiping slush and salt off my patent leather tuxedo shoes every year. I don't
Whoa,
like that.
that is such a
That's too much.
1%er problem.
I don't like to
telling
do that. I
I'm
want
telling
to
you,
go out
January
in
is the
June.
perfect place for that show because there is absolutely no other distractions. It gets all the attention. Where exactly are you going to fit it in June to not bump up
know.
against
That's
some
an
other
interesting question.
Well,
big
let me
thing
ask
going
you
on in
this:
the
what
city?
could you wrap it into the Grand Prix? Does the Grand Prix kick off the weekend of that, and then going into the next week?
I think a lot.
Nolan,
I don't
again,
think
the
you'd lose
facial
attendance.
expressions today from you are
just
I don't think you'd lose
priceless.
the
I
attendance.
think it's a dumb thing to do, and I think you do lose the attendance because there's so many other distractions.
Let me ask you
People
this.
got
Let me ask you this.
graduations, people got
Before,
everything else
while
going
we're still
on.
complaining about mowing lawns and graduation parties, what kind of economic impact, though, you take that show from January when it is a bit of a dead zone for hotels, for travel, for restaurants, and if you lose that, you lose the people coming down and whatnot. I mean, are we
I think
looking at it?
it's got a tremendous economic impact where it is. I don't know that the restaurants and all those places need as much help in June as they do in January.
Yeah, but didn't they have to do something given the amount of automakers who were pulling
pulled out.
But
And
again,
they were pulling out
who
for
were
trade
leaving.
reasons.
I
Right.
don't think they're going to come back because it's in June. I
They
really
go to
don't.
Chicago, they go to Los Angeles, they go to the
don't
other big
think
shows. I
they've-
think there was something, the technology, like Christy said, the strength of these technology shows has really changed the way the automakers think about the
true.
auto shows. And I think being in January so far out from those technology shows.
They were the
doesn't
week
help
after.
us.
It's the week after CES.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe you able to take journalists on more ride and drives. I mean, you take them off-site, off locations.
Think of all we
You
could
can
do on the
get people-
I
riverfront
think
during
it's going to be a
the auto show.
disaster.
Well,
My prediction. Now.
My shoes will be in better shape.
bah humbug. I was just going to
You'll
say.
probably come in a tank top,
That's right, I'll wear shorts.
a tank top and some patent leather shorts.
Nolan, that's a visual that I don't think anybody needed
No,
today.
just-
All right.
Everyone needs that visual.
This show's gone off the rails. I'm going to move on. Okay. Well, finally tonight, the LA Times recently did an in-depth story on a program working to cut down on gun violence in Detroit. It's called D.L.I.V.E, Detroit Life is Valuable Every Day. And it starts in the emergency room at Sinai-Grace Hospital with counselors who uniquely understand the cycle of violence, and they stay in touch with victims as they recover and sometimes really struggle with the reality of what they survived. Here at One Detroit, we discovered D.L.I.V.E while producing our documentary called Pathways to Prison. One Detroit producers Bill Kubota and Will Glover have the story.
The Detroit Sinai-Grace Hospital emergency room. And just down the corridor, the home base for D.L.I.V.E, a program working to reduce gun violence.
Let me ask you a question. How do you feel about the guy who shot you now?
Oh, man.
Honestly.
I don't hate him. I forgive him. You know what I mean?
Ray Winans works with young gunshot victims. First, as a bedside advocate, and then as they heal physically, a counselor and mentor for as long as it takes. A bullet punctured Jerome's lung when a bout of road rage turned into gunfire.
When I first asked you, how did you feel? You was ready to kill. I remember that.
Yeah.
You was calling your homeboys and everything. Talk a little bit about that.
All right, for sure. Well, it took me time to get there. Trust me, that's not how I felt at first at all. I mean, I wanted to kill, bro, for sure. I wanted somebody to kill him. I wanted anything to happen to him. I wanted something negative to happen to him. He did something negative to me that I feel like I didn't deserve, at the end of the day. But I know, can't wish nothing negative on nobody, and to live with yourself is better to forget than to hate, so I forgave him. I prayed.
Or at least afterwards, I ain't decided.
Calvin Evans is Ray's partner.
In D.L.I.V.E, Detroit Life is Valuable Every Day, we are now at max capacity. We have 25 guys on our caseload. It's 2 of us that are actually violent intervention specialists.
This gunshot victim is 17 years old.
I had like 20 holes in my intestine.
Wow, because it was ricocheting.
Yeah. Dang. I felt it though when it was ricochet. Like I felt like
Just a little
when
pain.
first I didn't know I got hit until I started jogging though.
Mm-hmm.
And
So what you was jogging to, like, get away or what?
At first I wasn't gonna run when they shot, but like I thought I felt something hit my stomach or I thought my heart dropped, so I started jogging. Then when I got to jogging, I felt something bouncing around.
Chicago has more murders than any other city, but the murder rate based on population, Detroit is higher. Overall, crime is down, but gun violence remains a part of life on the northwest side near Sinai-Grace Hospital. Emergency room doctor and D.L.I.V.E director Taululu Shanui realized something had to be done.
You hear it on all ends. You hear it from the doctors. Man, this is crazy. you hear it from the patients, and you see the anger and the angst and the sadness. You see social workers being, everyone feeling fed up, like there's no hope, like there's nothing to do. And you see individuals who are laying in bed, and you talk to them and they talk about, man, sometimes I got into this situation because they feel like there's no options.
D.L.I.V.E's approach to violence prevention is not new. Other programs like this can be found in a few hospitals nationwide, and they're all rooted to a 30-year-old Detroit emergency room study that happened to catch Dr. Chanui's eye.
I was walking through the trauma ICU, all these different departments, they show their papers that they published, and I saw a paper from the 80s that said urban trauma, a chronic recurrent disease.
That study found so many repeat cases of gunshot wounds, doctors realized they were looking at an epidemic. If they could treat cancer and cardiovascular disease, why couldn't they find a way to treat urban violence?
With this program that Dr. Sinai is doing, they're actually looking at the ER visit, looking at the repeated visit, and then making changes where that person doesn't get caught in that revolving door.
Travis Causey was a drug dealer who found himself in the ER a second time with gunshot wounds. He started with D.L.I.V.E a few months ago.
Before all this, I got called a pistol at 17. That's because I was scared. I was scared of other black men.
With connections he's made through Calvin, he's got a job, and he's working towards his GED.
I came here, the police would harass me. I met Calvin because when he came to my bedside, right after the police did. So I'm thinking he the police. I'm like, man, go on here with that, man. You the police, man.
What actually happened is the police is looking to investigate it, so they're treating individuals like suspects, and these individuals no longer want to be treated like a suspect. They want to be treated humanely.
I didn't think his program was gonna really help. I'm just like, it's just another black dude just talking, ooh. Like everybody else is always, they always got a promise. Through that promise, you always let down.
Kelvin says trust is the biggest hurdle, but he earns it because D.L.I.V.E doesn't work with the police, like some of the other violence intervention programs do. Kelvin's background helps too. He's been a drug dealer, he's been shot, he spent 24 years in prison. He knows what these young men are thinking.
That's why there are various different approaches is necessary, because you want an individual to understand that they are the victim. In spite of what it is that may have happened, you are the victim once you enter into this hospital as a victim of violence. This is my house right here. It ain't even here no more. Oh, this was my house. It was right here on this corner.
Calvin and Travis are back in the old neighborhood. These were Calvin streets 30 years ago. They're Travis's now.
You see the picture?
Yeah, I like that. Oh, boy. I feel like candy store, boy.
Travis wants a real career now. Calvin's connected him with professional photographer Ernest Season.
I always wanted to do photography. I never thought about pursuing that for real because I was worried about what my friends was gonna think, what the hood was gonna think. If I don't make it with it, I gotta go back to the hood, and then it's these same wolves here. How can you be a wolf and then have any type of softness to you? The dude in the hood feels so good when he got that new gun. Me, my new gun. I feel good.
What I admire about this young man is he has a vision. Like, I mean, he can see anything and be able to, he can explain it to a T as far as what he's feeling out of it.
I got shot over here on Strive Walk, a couple blocks over across. Over here, right? That didn't stop me. I got shot in the head when I was 19. 2012, October 1st. Didn't stop me. This carrot, man.
That's his love right there, see?
D.L.I.V.E's first anniversary comes in April. Calvin says with so many other victims of violence being turned away, the program needs to find more funding and more staff to help them.
Violence is a public health issue, not a criminal justice issue. And in order for us to fix our criminal justice system, we have to cure this mental health component, this public health component. And then we will begin to see the change.
And we so appreciate those young men sharing their stories. You know, we shot that story in 2017. The program is now 2 years old. And according to the LA Times, out of the 80 participants, none of them have been shot or stabbed again. We will have a link to the story on our website at MiWeek.org. And that is going to do it for us. We will be back next week for another show. We hope to see you then. Enjoy your week. We'll see you next Thursday. Take care.
I have a question. Who wants to go first? To win? Who wants to grow our business? Who wants to make more money? Who wants more job opportunities? If you want Michigan to compete and become a top 10 state, raise your hand. Together, we've turned Michigan around and started moving forward. Now help us build a stronger Michigan than ever. Raise your hand at strongermichigan.com.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.